Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being here at the recital hour this week. We have obviously some special guests here. Rhythm and Brass have been together for 31 years. They've traveled all over the world. We're so gracious to have them here working with our students. Today at 4 p.m. there will be master classes that are open to anyone that wants to come. Trumpets will be in here, percussion will be in Fiesel, and trombones will be in 359. Where? Atrium, even better. Tomorrow there'll be a tuba one at 8 a.m. and then at noon there's a horn one and a trumpet ensemble. So, lots of stuff going on. You are welcome to come to any of them. A quick personal note about this group. I saw them in 2010, I believe it was. I knew nobody here on the stage, and then all of a sudden, when I was working at my last place of employment, I worked with Professor Shuhan here, who's on horn. Before that, when I started college teaching, I was very graciously welcomed into the field by Whiff Rudd, who took me under his wing as one of my mentors. Never a person I studied with. So it's amazing, the music community and how you meet each other and what that might lead to. So, without any more, here's Rhythm and Brass for you.
We just gave you a little bit of a snapshot of rhythm and brass performance, starting with 3 really slow tunes, which just occurred to me. It's like, man, we are down tempo this morning, or this afternoon. But music of Johann Sebastian Bach, a beautiful chorale he wrote, roughly translated into I Give My Life to God, followed by the music of the legendary jazz bassist Charles Mingus, a piece that he wrote. It's entitled Duke Ellington's Sounds of Love. And there's a beautiful juxtaposition there because, Bach, of course, was, light years ahead of his contemporaries, harmonically, and or hundreds of years, I should say, and emotionally, of course, light years ahead of everybody else at the time. And then comes this beautiful piece by Charles Mingus, and you can hear the complexity of these harmonies that he's writing. And the piece that you heard after that, of course, by the wonderful songwriting team of Lennon and McCartney. That was a piece by the Beatles called Here, There, and Everywhere. Fun fact about Here, There, and Everywhere, when Paul McCartney was asked what he thought the most beautiful melody they had ever composed was, he named that song. A really very, very beautiful piece called Here, There, and Everywhere. How many people know the Beatles? Raise your hand. Okay, all right, we're not all gone yet. Very good. So, a bunch of old guys up here. So it's getting more and more rare for people to listen to the music that we were influenced by. And the piece that you just heard was written by Herbie Hancock, called Cantaloupe Island. And Herbie Hancock wrote a series of pieces based on fictitious places, and one of those fictitious places was Cantaloupe Island. So we have Bach, Mingus, the Beatles, and Herbie Hancock, just for a little taste. Now, if you come back tonight, you get the whole entree. So we'll play Pink Floyd, we'll play Josquin Desprez, whom you have got to have studied in music history here. And so we're running the gamut of music history here. And it's kind of in the vein of a great Duke Ellington quote when he said, if it's good music, it's good music. It deserves to be heard. And that's kind of the guiding force of rhythm and brass concert. So before we kind of open the session up, I wanted to just kind of pass the mic around to the group and tell you a little bit of the background of each of the members of Rhythm and Brass. And collectively, we have been together for now 31 years. So I'll start with myself because I'm holding the mic. My name is Charles Villaruby. I'm the tuba player, and I do a lot of the more classical arrangements for the group. And I am a professor of tuba at the University of Texas at Austin. And from that, let me pass it to Brother Brantley.
Charles Villaruby. So my name is Tom Brantley, and I'm the trombone player in rhythm and brass. And I think we should mention last time we were here as a group, it's 1997. Was that the year? So, yeah. But we remember our visit here fondly, and I know that this one is going to be at least as good, if not even better. So we're very happy to be here, and I'm especially thrilled to finally get over here because I actually live in Tampa, Florida, and I've been teaching at the University of South Florida for the past 26 years. And I teach trombone there, and I'm also the director of jazz studies. And I believe trombone players, you'll know, Ross Holcomb, my partner in crime there now, he just started teaching with me to help out, and he was here on Monday, so I hope you guys enjoyed Ross. I'm looking forward to working with the trombones, but everyone else too today here. So I'll pass the microphone on, but it's great to see you all. Here's...
Hello, my name is David Gluck. Obviously, I bang on stuff back there. I do more than bang on stuff. I compose stuff to bang on, too. I'm a composer. Originally from Central New York. I went to Ithaca College, and there's an affiliation here with Aaron and Alex. So I got my undergrad there. Then I went to University of North Texas. From there, I met these guys, went on the road with the Dallas Brass, Rhythm Brass. For 13 years, I was the chair of the music composition, studio composition department at SUNY Purchase, up just north of New York City. From there, what happened? I don't know. Currently, I live in Boise, Idaho, and I teach at an arts charter school. And I realized that during my career as a teacher, I've taught every age from the age 5, kindergarten, to grad students who were older than me at the time, 35, 40 years old, when I was only in my mid-30s. And I've just recently realized that it doesn't matter. To me, I have the same approach, whether it's a 5-year-old or a 35-year-old, or for that matter, a 75-year-old. It's about sharing your passion. And I just recalled that maybe in the early 90s, I lived in a place, how far are we from Sanford, Florida? Right? Do you guys know where Sanford is? Yeah, so for like 2.5 years, I lived in Sanford, Florida when my dad was going to Com Air school, flight school. So that's my story. I'm going to hand it to Rex now.
Hey everybody, my name is Rex Richardson, and I just started teaching trumpet at University of South Carolina this past fall. Before that, I taught for a long time at Virginia Commonwealth University. And I'm gonna let you know, I just had a new album drop. I'd be honored if you all would check it out on any platform, Spotify, whatever you want to check it out. It's called Elegy, Rex Richardson Elegy. So please check that out. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. I'm Alex Shuhan, and obviously you heard horn and piano from me here. I'm also a composer and an arranger for the group. Actually, you'll hear one of my tunes tonight, one of my original compositions on the starts the program this evening. And I've been at Ithaca College now for 27 years, and yeah, we'll keep it short, right? I mean, I was going to tell you where I was born and everything, but that doesn't matter. None of that matters. I was born. Yeah, I have a bunch of musicians in my family too. One of my sons plays. He's actually acting principal bass of the Chicago Lyric Opera Orchestra right now, which is kind of a cool thing. And I have another son who is an aspiring young artist. In fact, I'm going to encourage you all to check him out on Spotify. His stage name is his mother's maiden name, so he goes by Max Childs, Childs. Check him out on Spotify. He'd be thrilled if all of a sudden he saw a bunch of people in Florida were listening to his music. So there you go.
And we'd be happy if you checked out our stuff on Spotify or Apple Music. We have several albums, and we didn't bring any CDs because you guys don't buy CDs. But check those things out. Or maybe you do. Oh, okay. So we'll talk about that. My name is Oh, look at here. My name is Whiff Rudd, and I teach at Baylor University. I never dreamed when I was a student at Baylor that I would actually go back and teach there, and it's just been a fun ride for me. So I'm in my 23rd year there. And I think I'm the only granddad in this group. I'm kind of the daddy of the group. And when we were touring full-time, and we're going to talk about that stuff a little bit, I also served as kind of the manager for the group. But we did tour full-time, and for several years, some of us came out of the Dallas Brass and started this group. And I think it was around 98 that we decided to taper the full-time touring and move into teaching. And then we maintained lots of part-time touring for several years, and we're pretty limited now in how much we can do, but we just love getting together. These guys are like my kids' uncles. That's how tight we all were, working together and literally living together, sometimes 6 or 7 months of the year. So we can get into any questions that you all want to, but I mentioned that we were a full-time group, and that was exciting and challenging, and a lot of concerts. Yes, this is my crew here. We're going to have a little lecture here in a minute. And so the full-time thing was really kind of a dream come true. And I could say that there were probably, just in the brass area alone, there were probably 9 or 10 groups touring in the 80s, 90s, a little bit in the early 21st century. That could say they were on the road full-time, and we did a lot in Florida. We started with schools and ended up playing in all the major halls in the state, and it was really a dream come true. This kind of thing is very I'm not going to say it's impossible, but even the most famous groups who are out there, chamber groups, mixed groups, woodwind, string, whatever, vocal groups, most of them are part-time. It's one of their streams of income, and this is kind of the reality. We saw a huge change in 2001, and we all know what happened with the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and other places on 2001. But the principles of what we learned hold true for what you all are doing right now. How many of you plan on being music teachers or teachers of any kind, right? How many of you hope to have some of your life making a living or a stream of income from performing? Okay. Composing, instrument repair, music management, arts management. I mean, the list is long. The list is long. And what we see, so many musicians, and I know you have some here who are some of your adjunct faculty that do many things incredibly well. And so we have 4 boxes up here, and some of you, how many of you have projects going on right now? Yes, you better all have your hands on. Your teachers are watching. And also in life, we have projects. A marriage is a project, right? An illness is a project. I got pink eye two weeks ago. I thought that was a kiddie thing, you know. That was a process. It had a beginning, and thankfully it had an end. We'll talk about these 4 stages, and hopefully we'll keep this brief, and then we can take some questions. But what I just want to talk about briefly here is often called the cycle of all things. It started as a business thing. It's called the product life cycle, the PLC. You can look it up and read about it. For instance, I used an electric razor this morning. Well, that didn't really exist 100 years ago. Straps and very sharp razor blades. Some people still do that, and that's probably the best shave. But it's amazing all the different razor blades and systems we've gone through. If you look at how music has been recorded, we've started maybe with wax cylinders, and now it's all in the cloud. I mean, it took us a while to figure out what the cloud was. And the fact is that there's a beginning, an idea, a beginning, a flourishing time for a good idea, and there's the fact that it's going to fade away. Okay? So, let's talk about you and your parents. All right? We'll talk about me and my wife. So I'm in grad school, and my wife didn't say, hey, let's have a baby. She says, we're having a baby. Okay? So if it's an idea, great. If it's a surprise, wonderful. You might just play the best concert of your life that night. That's what happened to me. I was so excited. I played a really challenging concert without a net. And it was the first time I totally experienced it because I'm going to be a dad. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I got to get a job. My father-in-law's saying the same thing, right? How is this guy going to support you? So any great project starts with a reality or an idea, okay? And some of you have awesome ideas, and you should journal your ideas, and you might want to draw a few pages of 4 squares and do an evaluation of where you are. So your folks said, hey, let's have a baby. Great idea. So what happens next? Your parents invest, your family invests in you like nobody's business. Diapers, blah, blah. We move into the minivan years. You know, if you got 2 or 3 kids, you're doing soccer and baseball. I mean, we all know this life. There's mud in the minivan all the time. There's fast food wrappers, lots of investment. And right now, you are seriously investing in your lives, in your careers, right? I'm sorry you guys can't see this. Feel free to move, okay? This is expensive, and it's very time-consuming. Okay, this is minus, and hopefully this is plus if you're talking about income or business, all right? And then what is this? Ben Franklin said there are 2 things for sure, right? Taxes and, yeah. Sometimes when I do a PowerPoint, I start with saying, you're all gonna die. It's terrible, but it's a fact. But in the meantime, what will your life look like, and what will your projects look like? And for musicians, this idea of having a project-driven life is super important. So I'm going to interview Rex, okay? Rex. All right? So you had an idea about a recording project. We don't say CD projects anymore. Tell us about the idea.
I want to record a bunch of my tunes with musicians that I know.
And what was the idea? What's the project about?
So are you asking about this? Oh yeah. So this particular album, Elegy, I realized a lot of the tunes we were playing were sort of tributes to certain people, some of whom have passed away. Like I wrote a song for my father who passed away a few years ago. It's not very sentimental. The name of it is Peanuts and Ice Cream, because Dad used to have a bad habit of taking a big bowl of ice cream peanuts to bed to watch TV until my mom kicked his butt and made him stop. And he probably would have died a lot sooner if he hadn't stopped him from doing that. And some are people, for people who are still around. For example, there's a tune called The Tao of Heavy D, and Heavy D is actually David Gluck. It's also a tune written for my dog who is still alive. So there's a bunch of tunes like that, and we realized that was sort of the unifying theme, is that they were, basically these were songs in tribute to someone.
So the idea, pretty clear, but the amount of work for this project, and do check it out on Spotify, Elegy, Rex Richardson. This is huge and expensive, and the logistics alone. But if it's an inspiring thing, which this was for Rex, clearly, it's wonderful. Then he dropped it 2 weeks ago, and here he is living it up now with this great album. And if you listen to it a million times, he might get a $50 check from Spotify, right? So it's not going to be a huge financial payoff, initially, but the artistic. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I don't expect to make a lot of money from any of my recordings, but I have found that a lot of my best engagements as a soloist or as a guest artist have come through my recordings. So they have paid off financially that way. And there's also, you're just trying to put your creative work out there in the world. And sometimes it's less tied to an actual financial reward, but that's often a side effect of doing that kind of work.
And then I'm sure projects, and can you hear me? Okay. And it will kind of fade a little bit. We have lots of albums, and people listen to like crazy, and then we're always looking for something new, and it's great to revisit old friends in our record collections, right? But the important thing for you all is to identify and be careful that you don't pick so many creative projects you can't be effective with them. But our basic philosophy, and this is a good business plan, this was the plan that we all followed, is to make sure that we had a list of great ideas and to, as they say, throw all these ideas against the wall and see what sticks, and then to be very selective through collaboration. What are the things that we want to invest in? And finally have the product. And this is a recital. This is your recital, okay? This is your research paper. Flesh out your ideas and really invest, because the product will be a reflection of your passion for what you chose to do or what you were assigned, okay? It's good practice. And then when it's over, it's over. And a very inspiring thing when it came to like recitals for me was one of our trombone students at Baylor years ago. And he had a great recital program. He worked his tail off. But guess what? While he was doing all this work, he was brainstorming about the next recital. What happens sometimes, we do the recital, and then the next day the student might say, well, I don't know what to do now. Or I don't have anything, that I want to play in my next lesson. I deserve a little break. Okay. But what was impressive about this student Christian is that the next morning after his amazing recital, I heard him doing this in a practice room in the morning after his recital. He was excited about the next project. So that's the basis of it, and we can talk about networking, the business, but this is for you all now to go in any direction that you would like. I think we have some prompts, right?
I just wanted to emphasize what we've said about this, the last point you made about trying to keep rolling projects. This idea that you've got something you're trying to get through, and you've got something else that's on the back burner that's going to move to the front when that current project is done. Super important, I think, for every musician I know to have that, just to stay kind of happy with what you're doing, feel like you're moving forward.
I think it was Casals
Thanks, guys. So you got my announcement, right? And remember, text me questions. So this is actually a two-part question that has already come in. How heavy's the tuba? No, I'm just kidding. You play music, you play many genres. What goes into selecting your rep? And then where did your vision for the ensemble come from? Both really good questions. We can pass it around, and if you guys want to send in some more, that's fine too.
The first part is actually really easy. We play music that we love. We don't feel compelled, never have feel compelled to do this repertoire because it was originally written for this and to stay in this tradition of X, Y, or Z. No, it's we were all about making our own traditions. And so to that end, we've explored music of, like I said before, Johann Sebastian Bach, of course, and Josquin des Radiohead, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Claude Debussy, Florence Price. So what do we like? Somebody likes a particular piece. Say, hey, all right, do an arrangement of that, bring it in. So I think the overall sense is that, it's in that mold of Duke Ellington. If it's good music, it's good music. So that's that part of the question. And the second part was what was the vision? Yeah. Well, I think Dave alluded to earlier. We all came from the background of playing with another brass group called the Dallas Brass. And not all of us, four of us did. And it's very common in the industry to have, differences with people, in your field. And so we had some profound differences, and we wanted to do something different. So four of us, as Whiff said, we didn't have a net. We left the net behind. We said, all right, we are going to quit this job, and we're going to form our own group. We're going to all be unemployed for at least a year while we start getting this next group up and running. So the origins of the group were essentially come from a desire to do something different, to put our own stamp on the industry. And I think that it's kind of rare to have a group play so many genres. And I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but so effectively as rhythm and brass does. I think it just comes from a love and an interest in it.
I think just a quick point about this, because I think it's relevant to anyone who wants to form their own group. I think what has made this group work musically is that it's kind of an outgrowth of our collective musical personalities. So music we all like, we all know a different body of music, and we bring pieces. The only time we wouldn't play something is if we felt like it just didn't work for us. This arrangement doesn't sound good with us playing it for whatever reason. That's pretty much the only reason we would decide not to play something. But I think every successful group has had that dimension to what they do. Manols Brass, a lot of you might know, it's one of the most successful brass groups in the world right now. They're very busy touring around the world. If you don't know them, you should. MNOZIL, originally from Vienna, still based in Vienna. No one does what they do. And it's because it's an outgrowth of their personalities. They're basically like mimes and comedians who are also amazing brass players, right? Who else does that? No one does it quite like they do. Canadian brass was the same way. Empire Brass, it wasn't trying just to be something else. It was an outgrowth of their own personalities. So if you have a group that has that kind of chemistry, you might have the potential to also create something really special that's worth sharing with the world through touring and recording.
I'm basically going to reiterate what you guys just said. But it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was watching Saturday Night Live, and Coldplay was on. And first of all, I had to inform my students that 95% of the time when those groups are on those types of programs, late night shows, they are lip syncing because the production, they have to have control over all of it because it's going out on the air. But in addition to the lip syncing aspect of it, because back in the early 2000s,
If you're like me,
I was
you
a
find it
point
very
guy,
hard.
and I took it at face value. Pretty melodies, good grooves. But this time around, it seemed forceful. Everything was so derivative. They tried to bring in so many elements. They had the cute little Italian woman rapping over it, and then they had this.
I left my dick unprotected, and it was warped out of shape in no time. I could barely recognise my own dick. Imagine that. Then I discovered Schaefer's New Zealand style dick system.
Hopefully I'm not offending anyone. I mean, I have high standards and I like Coldplay. But getting back to what Rex said, I mean, you can get away with murder as an artist if behind that murderous attitude, you're genuine, you're authentic, and you're real, and I think that's called sharing and engaging and making connection. We don't have that pressure of the high-end industry where, Taylor Swift's entourage or people saying, look, the first 10 tracks of your tune have to do this because we got to keep our massive audience. That doesn't interest me.
And he's not really talking about murder.
I'm just going to say I'm part of these guys. Can I just say, guys, you're never going to see all these questions. I'm so proud of our students. They have amazing questions. All right, I'm going to try. You guys are great. This is fantastic. So I'll try to group them. I think these two I can put together. What is your personal strategy for networking in the world of music beyond locally? For example, making records, touring nationally, getting your name around to different schools and universities. And then related, where's this other one? So it's related, I think, what point did you realize that this passion project has serious national and even international potential? How do your approach to attitude towards the group change? So kind of, networking, getting out there, trying to get, more than local publicity, for lack of a better word.
I'll take that just for a moment because I'm actually leading right now a class at Ithaca College. I'm in charge of the career orientation class. And basically what I do is I try to find, a lot of them end up being graduates of Ithaca College, but other people in the field and come in. And the goal is to have people come in and sit in front of a class of people exactly like you and basically say, okay, now you're out there doing it. What do you wish that you had known when you were your age? What could somebody have told you that might have made the pathway a little bit easier for you or better for you? And pretty much across the board, everybody comes in and has their own version of networking and finding ways. I think what Dave just said is really important about being authentic. The most important thing that you can do is find a way to present an honest version of yourself. And you have to find out who that is along the way, and then you use the aspects of your personality to reach towards people and find those things that mesh up with what you want and what your skills and what your powers, what your superpowers are that way, and that's what makes you prepared for what comes next. And you can't write your story. You can't write your story right now because you have no idea what kind of doors are going to open for you and which ones are going to close as well along the way. And every time either one of those things happen, you're going to have to make choices, and those choices are going to make this unbelievable web of a spider web that you will look back and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing this now because of this thing that happened back along this way. And you just got to be a decent person, to be honest with you. That's the biggest thing about having a good network. So,
yeah, a couple of things. Number one, always be able to have the goods to back it up. Because if you're not in the practice room, if you want to do this for a living, if you're not in the practice room more than anybody else is in the practice room, just understand that somebody else is going to be spending more time than you are, right? So no net amount of great networking, belief in yourself is going to supplant great abilities. And number two, networking is not only about showing yourself, it's also about being interested in other people. You know, we all know the people that you go up and talk to, and you probably don't want anybody pointing fingers or giving hairy eyeballs or side eye and anybody in here, but you all know the people who will incessantly talk about themselves, right? Be the person who is listening and asking about other people, because that goes a long way.
No, it's true, and I'll keep it brief, but the fact is your networking started a long time ago. And we have sometimes, in my experience, I've had students that think it's something you're in college getting ready, and then you go out and start networking. And there are people in this room that could very well be on your interview committee for a faculty position someday, or an audition committee, and the screen comes down, it's like, oh yeah, I've worked with this person. I mean, we all have stories like this. I've been on a couple of serious committees, and finally there was one, we were close to inviting a person, and somebody said, well, we're at this point, I have to speak up about an incident. And it was like, done. And I like the research and the strong idea that, that says that we tend to become most like the 5 people we spend the most time with. And if that's true, I think I picked 5 really good people here, but you know, pick your 5 people carefully. And Charles is right, you know, just how you present yourself and how consistent, and are you on time, and are you prepared?
I'm going to piggyback on what Charlie just said and with a couple of things. Well, Charlie's talking about you be the person that's the most. I think what you're doing there is you're honoring yourself and bring the best version of yourself to your game. I love sports. I make a lot of analogies. Bring your A game every time. Let me just reminisce about a quick story, and maybe these guys forgot, but it was early on at MENC, Music Educators National Convention in Cincinnati. Yamaha brought us there. We played one night in probably front of 800,000 people, all of our band director friends from all over the place. Yeah, 800 to, I mean, it was a big concert. No, 800 to 1,000. We premiered Dana Wilson's piece. Anyways, here's my point. It was a very successful concert. We went back to the hotel lobby, party with all of our hundreds of friends. Yeah, this was great. I remember personally looking at the clock going, geez, it's like 1:30 in the morning. What time is our clinic tomorrow, guys? It was something like 7:50 a.m. or 8. You guys might not remember this, but man, it was like 1 against 5. I did not want to play to take my drums into that banquet room that next morning, which meant I would have to get up maybe 45 minutes early to get everything ready to sort of do what we just did. You know how we opened with 3 tunes? But imagine you guys all seeing us last night. It's like, oh no, we don't have to prove ourselves anymore. But this is what happened. I was pretty dark and tired. It was a crowd probably half the size of this. But after that we were done, this fellow walked up and he had a lanyard on, and it said Zildjian. And it was Lenny DiMuzio, the A&R guy, and we had this talk. He wanted to know something about the group. And it's like, well, didn't you see the show last night? No, I just got in. So my gut feeling tells me that if I didn't play that next morning, you know, hopefully I would like to think that eventually I got, you know, that sponsorship from Zildjian, but it only takes one person. Give another person an opportunity to throw that opportunity back at yourself, and you never know when it's going to happen. We gave a concert in front of 1,000 people. It wouldn't have happened. It took one. Yeah. Okay. Always bring your A game.
We have about 10 more minutes, and so I think this, I can group 2 more here. It's kind of about failure and difficulties, okay? So what mindset has allowed you to push through difficult times? As in, when things aren't going well, what kept you going, prevented you from giving up? And then related, has there ever been a time that you questioned the path you took in life and what you are doing and what helped reaffirm the path you are currently taking?
I'll try to be quick, but yeah, going through difficult times, there's a favorite saying in the jazz world especially that Clark Terry, the late great trumpeter, jazz trumpeter Clark Terry used to say, and also with his buddy Quincy Jones, who also just passed away. And by the way, there's a documentary with this title, Keep On Keeping On. keep on keeping on. I highly recommend this documentary. It's one of the most inspiring things I've ever seen. So go check that out. But that's what you have to do. And what I want to share that will help you get through the difficult times, believe it or not, this sounds kind of cliche, but 3 things: your health, that will help your health, and your mental health, gut health, if you will. So nourishment, making sure you're eating properly, and at this age, a lot of times, no, I didn't when I was in college for a lot of reasons, because when you're young, you're invincible, but if you can start doing this now, you'll be a lot more productive, and you will get through those difficult times. Nourishment, rest, and movement, even if it's just walking, you know. At our age, this is really important, but at your age, maybe it's not so important to you, but that will help you with your discipline and help you with your mental health, I promise. You know, if I had something to do over again from back then, I would do those 3 things. So that's one thing.
Quickly, I suggest here's a challenge. Screen time at the end of the week. Check out your practice room time, and I'll do something nice for you if your practice room time is more than your screen time this week.
Dave, I have the mic. I have the mic. Birthday boy has a mic, man. Come on. No, I think one of the most important things to remember, and it's very easy to forget this in the age of social media. All of you grew up, social media was just, it was there. It's something that we encountered as it was developing, so we didn't grow up with it. The most important thing to remember when it comes to having really difficult times is that nobody gets through life without them. They really do not. It will seem that way. You're looking at Instagram, wow, this person has an amazing life. Look at that. It's all about the beats, or it's all about, oh, these incredible tours they're doing. Everybody goes through suffering. And when you know that, to me anyway, it makes it infinitely easier to deal with your own. You know, it's just part of the human condition, right? So you might have to take extra steps to deal with particular situations you're dealing with. But in terms of like, the worst thing for me is to feel like, oh, I'm uniquely, you know, losing here or something. Or this thing that I'm going through is like, man, people don't go through this. This is because of me. It's really not true. It takes a long time to really believe that. You have to kind of, you know, unless you believe us or other people who tell you this, you kind of have to get old to really believe it in your bones. But ideally, you won't have to get old if you start buying into it now. Just remind yourself that it's just part of the human condition, and it's probably the most important thing to help you get through the difficult times. Everyone deals with them. And one other quote, Winston Churchill, you probably heard, right? If you're going through hell, keep going. Very important, very important.
That's awesome. Real quickly about failure. If you're not failing right now, you're not doing something right. If you're not experiencing frustration now, you're not doing something right. It's all, as Rex says, it's part of the human condition. You look at every great symphonic musicians. Look how many, Charlie Vernon, bass trombone, Chicago Symphony, took 30-something auditions before he won his first one. He wasn't born in the Chicago Symphony. He failed dozens of times. This is just the way it is, right? So you got to have a short memory in this business.
You guys know WD-40? What does WD-40 stand for? Yeah, what does the 40 refer to? He was rejected 40 times with patents. Yeah, so I use WD-40 on a daily basis. WD-40, 40 failures.
One more. Guys, these are great questions, and I'm sorry if I couldn't get to all of them. This is maybe one just to finish up on. What is your advice for being able to financially continue to play together and provide for your families? And what circumstances made you guys go from full-time to part-time? So some financial things, getting back to the kind of presentation, I think, right? So yeah, how have you kind of managed things financially?
Just real quick, find jobs that are related to what you want to do, what your goals are. You know, do your best. When you need, man, I got to pay the bills, or I got to pay for this, pay rent, teach lessons, find opportunities, be entrepreneurial about it, and that will pay off in the short term as well as the long term.
Yeah, final word, the tuba player. A lot of people speak about their passion, and that's okay. Understand that if you have a passion for something and you start working in a field that is your passion, it becomes a job really fast. And in many instances, it ceases to become a passion. So you have to understand how to kind of separate things in your life, right? What's gonna put food on the table? What's gonna put the kids through college, right? What am I gonna do to find, fulfillment in my life? For me, I go fishing, right? Or whatever, it's a variety of things. But I'm not saying I'm not passionate about music, and this is not a cynical thing. This is reality, right? So, look, you guys have had awesome questions, absolutely awesome questions. I'm really sad that nobody asked how much the tuba weighs, but just kidding. So we'll turn it back.
This has been great, everybody. Thank our guests. Thank you for being here, guys. And before you go, a really big thanks to Dr. Wittick for bringing them here. Guys, I encourage you to stick around, chat for a little bit if you'd like. Come to all of the events, especially tonight. It's going to be a great time. Have a good rest of the day.